You are still watching the morning call here on Africanews. And now we head to Ivory Coast, where the Ivorian Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly closed the political dialogue in the country on the electoral code on Monday on points of disagreement and without a signature between the government and the opposition. Discussions for the revision of the electoral code started early in January. The opposition, which was present as a whole at the ceremony, denounced a unilateral closure and expressed its willingness to discuss directly with the head of state, President Alassane Ouattara. Bridget.
Of the 8 main themes at the center of discussions between the government, the opposition and the civil society, 4 did not lead to any agreement. Among them, the financing of electoral campaigns from public funds and the thorny issue of the Independent Electoral Commission, which the government refuses to return to. President Alassane Ouattara should nevertheless validate a document taking into account the observations and send a bill to Parliament. Parliament, it is recorded, is largely dominated by the presidential party. And now Africanews correspondent in Abidjan, Ebrin Brou, now joins us to discuss the failed dialogue. Hello, Ebrin. The political dialogue on the reform of the electoral code between the government and the opposition ended in discord. What went wrong?
Bonjour. Eh bien, vous l'avez dit, c'est un échec cuisant, ce dialogue politique.
Well, as you said, this political dialogue on the electoral code to ensure peaceful elections in 8 months' time is a bitter failure. It lasted more than a month between Ivorian opposition and the government and finally ended without an agreement and without a signing. The political parties of the opposition had been summoned by Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly on Monday for the signing of the agreement, as evidenced by the agenda of the meeting. Instead, there was an abrupt interruption of the political dialogue because in less than 10 minutes, the Ivorian Prime Minister announced the closure of negotiations with the opposition. This provoked the wrath of members of the opposition who produced a communique in which they described the situation as a political deadlock. However, on the government side, the time is not to panic as all eyes are now turned to the Ivorian President, Alassane. Well, what's wrong are the demands made by the opposition which, according to the government, do not fall within the framework of the Electoral Code. Among other things, the Ivorian court's decision to drop charges against Laurent Gbagbo. Remember the verdict sentencing him to 20 years in prison.
So, Ebrin, how are the different parties reacting to the outcome of this political dialogue?
Alors, c'est d'abord une frustration pour l'opposition qui voit en cette décision.
It is first of all a frustration for the opposition, which sees this unilateral decision to stop political dialogue as a government strategy to discourage it from boycotting the presidential vote on October 31st, 2020. However, it reaffirms its total commitment to participate in this election, whose stakes are colossal both for the government and for itself. And on the side of the power, we play the card of serenity and we make sure that everything goes well and that there is nothing to worry about. Nevertheless, as I said earlier, all eyes are now on the Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, who will have to take important decisions in a few days. Discussions will surely resume in the coming days in order to find solutions that can put everyone in agreement, because going to the elections in such a fragile context would be catastrophic for the country. What are the possible consequences of this discord on the electoral process?
Eh bien, les conséquences pourraient être
The consequences could be numerous. First of all, the idea of a boycott must be banned because no political party at this time wishes to use this strategy to make its voice heard. There could be a total challenge to the entire electoral process on the evening of October 31st. The Electoral Commission is at the center of the debate, especially as it is headed by someone the opposition believes is close to the government. The credibility of the ballot will be at stake, and the presidents who will be elected in such chaos would not enjoy full legitimacy, which will obviously give rise to violence. We hope that the country will not have to go through a post-election crisis similar to that of 2011. Thank you, Ebrin, for answering our questions this morning. Ebrin Brou, Africanews correspondent, was speaking to us from Ivorian economic capital, Abidjan.